Hello everybody, this is TipTop MTG here today with another Commander Legends video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the mechanics of Commander Legends. So generally around any set release, I do a couple videos that are kind of standard. I talk about the collector boosters, I do all my spoiler videos, and one of those, another video I do, is the mechanic video. And that is no different for Commander Legends. Now, Commander Legends is a Commander, kind of straight to Commander set that's meant to be drafted with, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So I'll be covering a lot about that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Of course, there'll be other content as well, but what I'm going to talk about today are the 4 main mechanics of Commander Legends. Now, unlike Modern Horizons in the past, which Modern Horizons didn't have like 4 mechanics. It had every mechanic, and any card could do anything with any mechanic, and that was really cool, but for this, they wanted something a little more consistent, so there are only 4 main mechanics in the set, and so I'm going to talk about each of those, give you my thoughts on them, and kind of explain what they do. So why don't we jump right into this? Starting off, we have Maelstrom Colossus, and this card kind of showcases the Cascade ability. So this is a returning ability, or I guess mechanic, and Cascade essentially says, whenever you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled card on the bottom of your cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. So the idea is you cast this guy for 8, and then you're gonna hit like either a 7, a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0 drop, and so you cast it for 8, then maybe you get a 3 drop. And what's cool is because Cascade's a mechanic of the set, that means there are going to be a decent amount of cards with Cascade. And if you Cascade with this guy, maybe you find a 6-cost spell that also has Cascade, you then get to Cascade again. So if you have a whole deck that's full of Cascade, it is very, very powerful. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what type of commanders we get. I wouldn't, for each of these mechanics, I expect there to be a commander, at least 3 out of the 4, that really takes advantage of it in some way. So I'm expecting a new kind of Cascade commander, maybe one that cares about when you Cascade or makes it so different types of creatures maybe have Cascade. But yes, Cascade is in this set. There will be cards that have Cascade, and I assume cards that care about it in some way, whether it's directly mentioning, when you Cascade, or if it's something along the lines of whenever you cast something from your library, do something. And, both of those kind of boost Cascade up. So if you see any of those cards, any card that says when you cast this from your library, if you cast this without spending mana, if you do things that kind of meet this Cascade requirement, think about, oh, this might be good in a Cascade deck. Next, we have Encore. So this is, I believe, a new mechanic. Essentially, what this is the mechanic that is Encore and then an ability, then a mana cost. And any creature with Encore will essentially have a on-death trigger. So this one says, when it dies, create 3/3/3 colorless golem artifacts. And so every single creature with Encore so far that we've seen and have leaked have had a dies ability. And then there's an Encore ability, which kind of just does that dies ability again. So you can have this, you can play this for 9, or get it on the battlefield, or do something with it, and then have it die. And then you're going to get 3/3/3s. And then from the graveyard, you can pay 12 mana for its Encore cost. So then for 12 mana, you can kind of make copies of this guy. So you're going to exile him from your graveyard and create a token copy for each opponent. And then you're going to swing with those at your opponent, probably. Actually, I think you have to. Yes, you do. Sorry. New mechanic. So then you kind of take it from the graveyard, make token copies for every opponent, swing at them, and then sacrifice them at your end step, which the cool part is then those tokens die and you get this ability. So essentially what happens here is you're going to play this for 9. When it dies, you get 3/3/3s. Pretty good. Then you can pay 12, and then you swing, and now you're swinging with a 9/9 at each opponent, and then when those automatically die at the end of the turn, you are going to end up with a ton of golems. Each one's going to generate 3, which means in total you're going to have 9 3/3s, plus the 3/3s you made, plus the, damage that the Phyrexian Triniform did. So yeah, very awesome. Of course, that does cost 12 mana, so it makes sense to be that powerful, but yeah, so essentially anything with Encore is going to get to come back for like one less hurrah, and then we'll get to trigger its dies ability again. So yeah, pretty awesome. We also have the next mechanic being Monarch. So this one is an interesting one. So when you become the Monarch, you get this kind of emblem sort of thing that says at your end step, draw a card. And then it also basically how it works and why it's interesting is that if you are dealt combat damage by an opponent's creature, whoever dealt the combat damage, whoever's creature dealt the combat damage, they become the monarch. And so it becomes this game of, oh, I can get 1 damage through to you. That's actually worth a lot because then I become the monarch. I draw an extra card, and it creates really interesting mechanics. I've seen people who think monarch should be a part of every commander game because it creates such an interesting dynamic gameplay. It creates lots of interesting dynamic gameplay situations. So they are adding more support to it. Now, this is a reprint, but I assume we're going to get a new Monarch commander. I would not be surprised if Marchesa is reprinted as one of the reprint commanders. And yeah, it seems like Monarch is going to be back. And then the last one, which is one we've known about for a while, is Partner. And this isn't one they really consider a mechanic, but I do. It is such a big thing for Commander. Having, I think 70 new partners, 50, there's a ton of new partners, and they all can combine in different ways. So keep an eye out for these. Obviously, I'm not saying like Tevish Stats and Siani should be partners together. I'm just showing you that, we have new like Planeswalker partners. We have normal partners. We can combine normal partners. You can combine the new partners with the old partners, and then all sorts of crazy things can ensue. So yeah, those are the 4 mechanics. I want to quickly go back and just give you my overall thoughts on each. Cascade. Pretty awesome. We don't get a lot of new Cascade cards every year, so it's going to be awesome to get kind of an injection of those, and maybe there'll be a better Cascade deck being added to the format. Encore, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I think that if you're playing Encore, you're probably going to want mill cards and discarding cards, because yes, while you getting that dice trigger is nice, and yes, if you're going to pay 12, you may have been able to pay 9 before, it just seems like something that's going to work really well in a mill deck, that's going to maybe want to mill itself, resurrect things, that kind of thing, which also may point towards a theme in the set. If, Encore works well in the set, I would assume there's going to be a decent amount of self-mill and resurrection. Monarch, I'd love to see Monarch. Again, just more cards. I would love if there were more cards that were just useful and then just said you become the Monarch on them. Why? Because as soon as the Monarch enters the game, it does not leave the game. And so if you just had a Cultivate that also made you the Monarch, you would end up having the Monarch in a lot more games, and it would be really awesome. Now, I'm not just saying I want them to print Cultivate with Monarch on it. I'm just giving you an example. If, there was a 2-cost mana artifact that's, maybe a 1-cost artifact, tap, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's mana cost, and a random opponent becomes the Monarch. Boom. Interesting card, introduces the Monarch, is good enough where people would play it. Actually, might be a little too good, but yes. And then, of course, Partner. I think Partner is going to be a really scary mechanic, although I think it is very interesting. It kind of creates this endless possibility swarm. It's like, yes, you probably wouldn't partner these 2 up, but you could. Maybe you have some way of giving your black Thrall creatures flying, and then boom, they actually do work pretty well together. So, yeah, there are lots of interesting things that you can do. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want to see more Commander Legends content, I did a video covering the collector boosters earlier today. I'm doing a video covering the spoilers coming out very soon, probably an hour or so. So check those out. There should be an end card right about now that should link you to some of those. Either way, if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.